Hi everyone, it's Deborah, and today I'm going to be doing some more on my lap book that I'm making. My first thing is that I want to say I'm really sorry for my last video on this, the first one I did. I actually had a look at it on YouTube the other night and I realised that it was a pretty bad video, and I don't know what happened that day, but clearly I was having some issues. So I'm sorry about that. I don't normally upload them if they're not good, but for some reason that one slipped through the net. So I'm moving on, and hopefully this one's going to be a lot better than the last one. So let's do some more of the lap book. Now before I put that on the spine or anything else, I wanted to put something over the top of this tape because it's pretty ugly. So I've got my washi tape out and I've chosen this one, which is a black with white or silvery tones on it. I haven't used it before, so I'm just looking for the end. There it is. And I'll run that down. I thought that that would look nice. Yeah, it does. The black on the paper looks really nice. Because once you put your spine on, you're not going to be able to put anything underneath it. Now for now I'm just going to tuck that over the top, and then the same on the bottom, and I'll deal with the outside of it later. While I'm here, I'm also going to run some down here. This is the page we did the other day, and I'll run some of this down here for that same reason. Let me just move that page out of the way though. Now I have a couple of issues here, and that is that this has not caught, and I've got some bits of things here that are popping out, and I also still have a piece of that white tape. So rather than putting another piece of the thick tape on, I thought I would use a thinner tape, still in the black and white tones, to solve that issue and run that down the side of there. Now the reason that I've chosen not to just use the same thick tape, firstly because it's too thick, and secondly because it will look like it's a fix rather than a feature. So now I've made a feature of that rather than having it like the tape wasn't wide enough. And then I'll do the same on here as well, because I've got the same issue. The tape isn't wide enough. So I want to see where this needs to be. So I'm using the washi as a measuring tool. Okay, I might put the butterflies down first this time so I get the other one in the right place. This manila folder I'm going to put in here, but again it's too big for the page and I don't want to get rid of the tab. So I want to keep that tab, and that means that I need to change the edge of the spine. So my intention is to cut this side of the spine off. But before I do that, I've scored it, and that will create the spine in there so it folds over. And I'm just going to put some glue in here before I cut that off, so my pieces will stay together. I've scored the other file folder the same, and I'm going to do the same and have it opening the other way. So these will sit both in the spine like this, and this one will fold like this, and this one will come over like this. That's the plan. The papers I'm choosing to use are the Tim Holtz Wallflower papers. These images are quite lovely, and anything smaller I would have to cut this, and I don't want to. I want the whole image in. So that's why I thought this would be a good project to use some of these on. I'm going to cover all of this, including the spine, because I'll sit this one on the top and the other one underneath, so I don't need to cover the spine of the other one. And just to make life easier for myself, I have scored that page to match that one, so that will fit on top. And also I'm using glue because I then have time to slide it around before I need to finalise it, to make sure that I've covered the whole thing. Now I'm just rounding it, following the edge of the file folder as my guide. And then inking the edges. Well, I could do this at the end when I do the other side, which is probably more sensible because it's one step less. Okay. So this one will sit in there like that, on top of one another. And one will fold one way and one will fold the other. I'm hoping. I'm hoping that works. I think it will. I'm going to decorate them before I stick them in, because once they're in it'll be too hard. Because it's quite large, it'll be really difficult to kind of manipulate things and get everything where I want it. So the final step will be putting these into the folder. Just choose some more papers, see what else I want on here. Don't forget to look at the backs of them as well. Although the fronts are so pretty, it's hard to use the backs. And right about now, you're probably thinking, why have I bothered to use the file folders when I've covered them anyway? And I have a couple of reasons. The first reason is that I really like the shape that you get around these corners. And yes, I've got a punch and I can do it myself, but I just really like that sort of curvy shape. And the second reason is it gives me a place to start. I mean, without the file folders, I don't seem to be able to get the inspiration. I mean, I can, but then I'm like, well, should I do this or that? Whereas the file folder gives me a surface. It constrains me to working on this size. And it makes me think about things like, how do I fit the wider file folder into this? And without that, I wouldn't have come up with this idea of having these two on top of one another, and having already worked out the way that I'm going to bind these in, which is something that I haven't done before. So when we get to that, I'll show you that. And things like that. So I just like it. It also gives you a much thicker piece, because I've now got a file folder and two pieces of paper, and these papers from Tim Holtz are quite thick anyway. And now I've got two of them with a file folder in between. So I've got a really sturdy surface there. Sturdy to write on, sturdy to add pockets and things on, which I'm going to do. And that is why I use the file folders, although it might seem a bit silly. You know, they're not that expensive. These ones were a bit more because I had to get them out of the US, but the ones you can get here in Australia are super cheap when you buy them in bulk. So why not? I've got all that cut off now and made this little thing. So I've only got the back to cover, and then I've got the insides of this one to cover as well. I'm putting down some Tim Holtz tape. Now, this is from his newer range, and he's done some really cool tapes. And it's actually not a washi tape, it's like a sticky backed tape, but it's more like a Band-Aid feel, you know, the thickness of a light sports injury tape. I've got that upside down though, haven't I? Yeah, okay, now I put it upside down. I wonder if I can pull it off and turn it up the right way, or if I just leave it. I think I'm going to leave it. I'm probably not going to pick it up. I mean, I will now that I know, because the 108's upside down. I didn't realise it. Yeah, I guess it's not really directional, but let's put the other one up the right way and see. I've now covered all 4 folders, and I had a little bit of a mishap when I was covering this one because I cut it at the wrong spot. So I haven't got the little gap there and here. But I'm still going to use it. I've gone to all the trouble to cover all 4 sides, and again, it's probably not something that anyone else would pick up. It's probably just something that I'll see. I'll have to just get over myself, won't I? And I don't have to put washi or tape down here, but I wanted to use this tape. I haven't used it yet, as I said, and I just thought it will get rid of that little line, and it'll create a little bit more interest on the page. So I just may as well use it. Gosh, if you've got a scratch or something, you may as well just use Tim's tape. He should start producing a line of medical tapes. This is gorgeous. Can you imagine walking around with a Tim Holtz Band-Aid on? Here you go, Tim. There's an idea for you, and I want commission when you go with that idea, okay? Let's cut this off. Yeah, it does look better up this way. The eye's more drawn to it. It's also a little bit crooked up here, kind of a bit twisted. Okay, I don't think I'm going to get it up, so I'm just going to have to live with it. So they are my folders, and now I will put them into the book, because I think I've done enough on these 2 that I can put them in the book and then put the pockets and things on them once they're in the book, because it'll be easier to work out where I want things to go when I have them in the book. And I will ink all my edges first before I put them in. I hope you'll join me for the next part of making my lap book, which will be coming soon. Cheers.